Hey, this is Tony Wickers, the Locked On Jaguars. We spent a lot of time talking about what's wrong. It's been a bye week, man. They didn't lose a game, so we kind of like been spending a little time this week talking about what's right. I'm going to do a little bit more of that right here on Locked On Jaguars in just a second.
You are Locked On Jags, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's good? What's up, good people? I gotta talk right first. But what's up, good people, going on today here on Locked On Jaguars? And we thank you for making us your first listen every day because it's your team every day. And we absolutely love being here bringing you this content, especially when we have good news. Good news is that nothing bad is happening. That's the good news. The good news is we're sitting here today going to talk about the good things and some of the good things that's happening within the Jaguars organization coming off of a win in Miami and then a bye week. Here's the positivity going for you. This is what we're going to talk about. I actually think they're going to win against Seattle. Isn't that good? I actually think they have a real legitimate shot of going out there and playing mistake-free football and winning that game. Am I starting to really believe in this team a little bit? Well, I'm starting to believe that they're starting to believe in themselves, okay? And it's not just with what you would call just blind optimism. I'm starting to believe that they're starting to really believe in themselves and learn their identity, so we'll go through that. I think that starts with a couple of players, too. One of them is Josh Allen. We're going to discuss Josh Allen today. I captioned it, "Oh, my Josh," because he's looking and playing like the Josh Allen that we all hoped he would, and we saw glimpses of his rookie year a few years ago. So that bodes well for the team. And then finally, Urban Meyer, with his approach that now we know it was for different reasons. He had an approach that, it's going to be up to the players. At the point that he said that, he was right. It had to be up to the players because we had to let the Urban stuff sort of die down a little bit, and it has. But more importantly than that, I think he's starting to trust and understand what the NFL is. That, yeah, every game's going to be exactly what he says. It's going to be a 3-hour root canal. Okay, that's the NFL, and that's what it is. There are no 66-3 blowouts against directional schools in the NFL. It just doesn't work that way. For a while, everyone acted and thought the Jaguars were a directional school, and that's not the case. And a quick small peek, too, later on with how the AFC South is starting to take the shape that I thought it would, where the Jaguars are about third place and have a chance to really be looking up, and that the Titans are sitting up looking down at everybody, and the Colts are starting to come around a little bit, even though Carson Wentz, I didn't have a lot of faith in him, but now all of a sudden I do. So a lot to unpack, and we'll get started with it right now, talking about this game out west where they have to travel to go play Seattle and why I'm so confident. It has a little bit to do with the fact that Seattle is not very good right now and that they're playing without Russell Wilson. It has something to do with the fact that the best part about Seattle's team is their receiving core, but they just don't have a quarterback right now that's going to be able to consistently get them the ball. And it has a lot to do with the fact that their offensive line has been struggling, and someone in Jacksonville has stepped up by the name of Josh Allen, who looks like he is ready to start wreaking havoc again on the quarterbacks around the National Football League, especially quarterbacks that aren't confident and quarterbacks that aren't confident with bad lines like the one in Seattle. I was hard on Josh. I was very hard on Josh last year, but then I found out he was hurt, so I kind of backed off of that a little bit. And then I started to be hard on him again this year. It's because I hope he's not one of those guys that just needs a guy on the other side of him to play well. So I started telling people, watch Josh. Is he playing well? He wasn't really. He wasn't playing terrible, but he just wasn't playing like that guy who can take the pressure off of everyone else. Then all of a sudden, the last 2 or 3 weeks, he has made some flash plays maybe even maybe 3.5 to 4 weeks, he's made some flash plays like he was getting there, but he wasn't finishing. Well, now he's actually making plays where he's getting there and he's causing disruption, and that disruption is being it's working in the Jaguars' favor because it's getting them off the field, because it's putting the team in a long down and distance situation, and it's also allowing the Jaguars to get back on the field because those teams know on long down and distance situations on third down that they ain't going to have a whole lot of time to hold on to the football. So he has been a bright spot for Jacksonville this year. And in segment 2, I'm going to tell you why I think that is. But really, that's why I have confidence that they're going to win the game, because the Seahawks' weaknesses line right up with the Jaguars' strengths, and the Seahawks' strength, they can't capitalize on them right now. And then you're just not going to sit there and run the ball all day on Jacksonville either. So you can forget about that, especially with a subpar line. So this is Joe Cullen week for me. This is about Joe Cullen. This is about the chance for the defense to be the reason why the Jaguars can control this game from start to finish. Now, the Jags had struggled guarding tight ends against Miami. But at the end of the game, they did exactly what, they needed to do to win the game. So it was a very, very good ending to the game. It was a very good beginning in Cincinnati, not so much of a good ending to the game in Cincinnati. So we're going to see if Joe Cullen can go out to Seattle and put this thing together, and use Josh Allen and use some of the other parts. I'm going to talk a little bit more about Cullen and Allen and why I think at this point this really looks good for the Jaguars moving forward, and it's starting to work. And I'll do that in segment 2 here on a Wednesday, a hump day, on Locked On Jaguars. But I got to tell you guys first about the incredible app that everyone who buys gas needs to know about. It's called Get Upside, and listeners are already making up to 25 cents for every gallon of gas every single time that they fill up. Just download the free Get Upside app in the App Store or on Google Play right now. Use the promo code TOUCHDOWN. We'd love to see a lot of those this weekend from Jacksonville, but use the promo code TOUCHDOWN and get a bonus 25 cents per gallon on your first fill up. So that'll be 50 cents cash back after you download the app and use the promo code TOUCHDOWN. Why are you paying full price? Nobody does that. Where they do that at? Get the gas and then get cash back for getting that gas. The money will stay in your account now until you decide you want it to put it back in your bank or on your PayPal or even on an e-gift card for Amazon or other brands. Just download the free Get Upside app and use the promo code TOUCHDOWN and start saving up to 50 cents a gallon cash back on your first tank and 25 cents per gallon after that every time you put gas in your car. Promo code is TOUCHDOWN. The app is called Get Upside. Rolling right along here on a Wednesday, and you see a little pep in my step. I got a little bit of happy because this is the way that I've always wanted to do these podcasts, and we come off of a win, and now we have a bye, and you got people around the league. I saw my other buddies on the Locked On Podcast Network, because I make Locked On my first listen. You make the Jaguars your first listen. I see some of them are sad and some of them season on isn't going. I know that feeling because I was just doing it 2 weeks ago. But now I have a renewed optimism because the Jaguars finally at least have started to sound like they found themselves. So why the difference in tone from Urban? Why the difference in it seems like the ebb and the flow of the way that they're playing? And this happened even before they won. It actually happened in Seattle. Segment 3, you're going to have to stick around for that. But now segment 2, we're going to talk about why I think this is Joe Cullen week, why Josh Allen is playing well. Here's the thing with Joe Cullen. If you look at his background, right, defensive line, mixing things up front, high energy guys playing with the motor. I know this sounds like a draft segment. Guys playing with the motor and bending it. They're bending the edge and all of that stuff. They got to get off and all of that. But you think back to him and how he's coached and then where he's coached, particularly Baltimore. He's had a track record of developing guys who can get after the quarterback. And if with Urban saying that he wanted to play sort of the way the Ravens played, he wants to play like Baltimore plays, you think that the position that there's two positions, actually. the nose guard position, and the edge rushers. It seems like they just flock edge rushers out of the Ravens system for some reason. So it's a little bit of what they do and who they are, because everyone that plays well in Baltimore doesn't necessarily go play well everywhere else. But they just have a type, and they know exactly who they are and what they are and how they're going to play. When you saw the Jaguars roster this year, and you thought Joe Cullen and Urban, by him mentioning Baltimore, the first thing I thought was Josh Allen is going to thrive. Because everybody that looks and is built like Josh Allen, and there's not very many guys that look and built like Josh Allen, they all seem to thrive in this system, man. They all seem to thrive in this Baltimore type defense. I mean, you got guys around the league, Pernell McPhee and Jared Johnson over the years, and Zadarius Smith, guys like that, Matt Judon. The list goes on and on and on about the type of guys that are like Josh Allen that have played well. Jihad Ward, he's right here, right now. He's another guy that's been consistent in that. I also thought that Dawuane Smoot would show up and show out, because I like Dawuane Smoot as a player, and I know you all do too, because he's a professional. He's going to be around for 10, 12 years. You watch somewhere, hopefully here in Jacksonville. But I also thought that this would be a chance for Kayvon to develop and get better. Now, Kayvon has improved. You know, I beat up on him a lot because you think about his draft status and all of that. But he has a level of enthusiasm, one, that's very high. And two, he doesn't seem defeated. He doesn't seem like a guy who's down on himself because things haven't gone probably as good as he's wanted them to. And he's kind of coming around as that guy that can make a play for you. Now, he's flashing more than he's finishing, but that's fine. You got to flash before you finish. You can't finish until you flash. And he's playing better in the run game. Every now and then there's one or two of them you go, wow, Kayvon, come on. And then it's funny that, you know, I laugh at the celebrations, like he'll celebrate something he almost did. But still, that's better than sitting here saying that Kayvon Chaisson is just playing poorly. He's not doing that anymore. Now, is he being as good as you thought he could be, or we thought he would be, or his draft status? Who cares? Right now, all you want to do is see improvement. But I do think Josh Allen is one of those guys who is finally getting comfortable in what Joe Cullen wants him to do, and they're all getting comfortable with each other. I think Devon Hamilton is playing lights out. I think he's a great football player. And I always talk about having multiple guys, or at least first you're starting off with one great guy per level. I also love the fact when you can get multiple guys per level that are good football players. I think the Jaguars can anchor themselves to Devon Hamilton and Kayvon Chaisson from now moving forward before they start adding other pieces to it. I think those guys are the type of guys that we're talking about. Now, you ain't gonna get a team full of them, but you want as many guys that are that good at their positions when you start to put yourself in a position to win championships, because those guys are the type of guys that we're talking about. So kudos to Cullen for getting everybody on the same page, at least for a couple of weeks. And kudos to the guys for finding themselves, specifically Josh Allen. I was riding Josh Allen. I forgot who I was doing it with, but I was talking about him and Nick Bosa. And I was thinking just a couple of years ago, fans were saying that Josh Allen was better than Nick Bosa. Nobody was saying that anymore. Nobody wasn't even thinking about it. He's played the last couple of weeks the way Nick Bosa seems like he always plays in San Francisco. So now you can start saying that Josh Allen is coming back around and he can be that dependable guy that could cause that pressure and be that beast. He looks like a beast, so now he is that beast. I actually had somebody tell me that he thought he was too much of a nice guy to be dangerous. I don't believe that. I don't think that one bit. I think Josh Allen can be great, and I think he's shown that the last couple of weeks. So for this week, they have the real opportunity to really show you what it could possibly look like and be dominant, because I absolutely think Seattle is terrible on the offensive line, and I don't think Geno Smith is a great quarterback. I feel like I'm setting you guys up that if the Jaguars don't perform well, that dang it, Wig, you had us feeling good. You had us thinking that they were going to be great. And then they go up there and they lose this game. I know it feels like a setup. I really do. especially with Seattle losing two close games to, two pretty decent teams in Pittsburgh and New Orleans. So you think, well, no, they can beat Jacksonville, but I think, when a team is wounded like this is when the best parts of you have to show up. So this is Joe Cullen week for me because I think it's going to be critical. I think they can win the game. They can absolutely, the defense can control this game and win the game. And I think they can probably hold Seattle to less than 20 points. And if they do that, that sets up really well for Trevor Lawrence and the crew to take a hold of this game offensively. So in segment 3, we're going to talk about how all of a sudden I feel good in this belief system that I have in this team right now, at least for this week. Now they lose, I'm going to come back and start beating them up like I always do because it's kind of what we do. But the thing is I really do believe that they have a shot. And I think there's a connectivity between the players, the coaches, Urban Meyer, and a realization of who they are and what they are. And which will just show you why they have to be who they have to be on the field on Sunday. We'll do that in just a second. I'm going to explain that a little bit further in segment 3, and I'll do it here on a Wednesday edition of Locked On Jaguars. After I tell you about Bet Online, man. Bet Online remains your number one spot for all of the basketball and football action this season. They're back and better than ever with a new web interface for the start of basketball season and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. Head to your new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Just use our promo code, which is Locked On, to receive that bonus. Now, I was close on some games this week. I'm still mad at Carolina for letting the Giants beat them because they ruined my ticket, but that's okay. You have another shot. You always have another chance. It's just daily because basketball is playing the postseason of baseball. The Braves are up 1-0. It's a lot for you to get your interest level up and make some wages and put some money in your pocket. You do it at Bet Online because it's the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. Use the promo code Locked On for a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. I want to talk about salted caramel. You know it, salted caramel Built Bar. My absolute favorite one. And you can't have a favorite if you don't try them. And I don't know why, if you haven't tried them, I don't know why you haven't done it yet, because it's the best protein bar ever. And it's amazing, man. It's not all chalky and waxy like those other protein bars. No, this is like the texture of a candy bar, and it's covered with 100% chocolate, and it has great flavor. And you know what? You can actually eat it and consume it while you're working out because they're low carb, low calorie, low fat, low sugar, and high in protein. So they have all the healthy benefits on top of just being purely delicious. And they have so many flavors. Another thing about Built Bar, there's so many mouth-watering flavors, including coconut raspberry, mint brownie, coconut almond, salted caramel, double chocolate, and cherry barcia. This month, Built Bar is coming out with the new limited time flavors every 3 to 4 days. So check their website often. You don't want to miss out. Go to BuiltBar.com and guess what? You'll save 15% off of your next order when you use the promo code LOCKED15. On Twitter, it's @bar_built if you want to keep up that way. But whatever you do, use the promo code LOCK15 and you're going to save 15% on your next order of Built Bar. I don't know why you ain't tried it yet. You better get to it. And we're rolling along here on a Wednesday. Just to let you guys know, I'm not trying to fool you. I'm not trying to trick you into believing that the Jaguars are going to do something this weekend that they're not capable of doing. I'm just trying to tell you that I sense that just listening to Urban and watching the way that they coach, you won't hear any little shade or messages that suggest that Darrell Bevell and Urban aren't on the same page anymore. See, that's the stuff that had to stop because I think it was almost like scapegoating and saying we got to figure it out. Sometimes in a way, maybe even being a little too transparent because that's no good for anybody and it causes morale problems. I think they got on the same page. If I'm a guessing man instead of a betting man, I would say Urban got on page more with Bevell because he realizes that Bevell probably understood exactly what Urban wanted, but they had to get to it an NFL way instead of doing it a college way. What I mean by that? Well, I haven't seen him play in 2 weeks that I was like, that was some college stuff. We saw that early in the year with some stuff that absolutely will not work in the NFL. So I think there was sometimes when you could see stuff and go, oh, that's pure Urban right there. That's straight out of Florida's playbook or Ohio State's playbook. You haven't been able to see that and think about that stuff lately. And then the play that worked right at the end of regulation against Miami, you're starting to see stuff too that you can tell that they've worked and worked and worked, and it happens and it came into fruition, right? And those are the little things that can win a game. Those are the things that can make a root canal positive, like when you leave there and your blood ain't running out of your mouth, right? See, the losses is the other way. You know, when you leave the game, it's like, I just went through a root canal and my tooth still hurts. A win is, yeah, you're going to go through a root canal, but guess what? You're going to enjoy the flight home because you won the game. And you start to build off of that. You start to realize that we're not the worst team in the league on any given day. We can beat people if we do this, this, and this, and this. So what are some of those things that they're doing? When's the last time you asked why James Robinson hasn't gotten the ball more? Don't worry, I'll wait. It's been a few weeks, and they've played better in those few weeks. When's the last time you wondered why they weren't throwing the ball to Marvin Jones Jr.? When's the last time you wondered when are they going to uncork Jamal Agnew? You haven't heard that stuff because it's exactly what they've been doing. They found their identity, which was probably delayed because of the quarterback competition in training camp. And what I perceive is probably a little bit of haggling or trying to figure out how to implement what I said. I call it putting fried chicken and ice cream on the same plate. Well, trying to figure out how we're going to do that. You can have your fried chicken and ice cream, just eat your chicken and then get your ice cream later. And I think that compromise has somehow sort of worked because look, between Bevel and Meyer, we can do it both our way, but we need to find a way to incorporate it and make it one way instead of trying to do them both at the same time. That's not going to work. I think Urban figured it out. I think Urban was forced to figure it out. Now get this, because Urban had bigger stuff to worry about because of some off the field stuff, and he started leaning more on his players and coaches. And then I think when he did that, he realized you can still be a great leader and delegate authority without getting in the way. You know, you think back to his college days, he had Ryan Day and Dan Mullen and all of these guys. Some of the best coaches in history are guys that delegated authority. And I think the delegation was forced because of self-inflicted stuff. And now all of a sudden, the lights come on. You mean giving a little bit less of me means actually getting more of me? It's almost like your mom tell you to make the bed and you make the bed and then she's standing there helping you the whole time and she's telling you to do no, let me do it so I can figure out how to do it the way you want it done. Because if you walk out of this room, I don't know what you want me to do. You see, sometimes you have to give direction and allow it to give a guy a chance to do the things that you want him to do. Now, by no stretch of the imagination am I telling you that I got any inside information that none of this is the way that it happened. But I'm telling you that in my opinion, and my opinion is informed based on at the time stuff happened, when stuff happened, what somebody said, what somebody else didn't say. I'm trying to put this whole thing together, and I'm guessing probably just like anybody else. But I would guess that the reason why you've seen an improvement is because of proper delegation of authority, of not focusing so much on what we want to do, like we got to run this play, or we got to be fast, or we got to be this, or we got to be that, instead of just focusing on who you really are. No, this is who you are. You are Trevor Lawrence, you're James Robinson, you're Marvin Jones Jr., you're Jamal Agnew, you're Dan Arnold, and you're Laviska Shenault. Everybody doesn't have to play. You ain't got to activate all these different wide receivers every week. You ain't got to go through all of that stuff. Know who you are. These are our best guys. I know you love all 53 of them and then all 77 guys on the practice squad, but it doesn't work like that. These are the best guys. This is our rotation. This is it. These are the guys we're going with. Basketball coaches do it all the time. They have 18 guys on the bench and they'll play 7. This is it. Now, you can play more people, but you have to know who to lead with. If I saw them throw the ball to Philip Dorsett and one more time, I was going to go crazy. Stop trying to force stuff. Now, recognize who you are. Realize it. These are our best players right here. Urban has clearly said it. Our best separator is Agnew. Marvin Jones is a professional. James Robinson is this and this. And you've seen what James Robinson is. Trevor can do this and do this. You get all of these things working, and all of a sudden, boom. There it is. You look competent and you look like you give yourself a chance. Now, defensively, I'm still working on this. Obviously, he thinks at this point Dewey Wingard is better than Andre Cisco. And he probably is. But I'm thinking, God, can Cisco be that bad that what you're going to eventually get out of him is way better than what you're not getting right? I wonder if the eye in the sky in practice is telling them, we can't play him, man, because if he does that in the game, we're going to give up a big score. I'm wondering if that's what it is, because they're not good enough to overcome those things right now. So at least maybe having Dewey in the game, you sort of die a slow death, but big plays will crush you. And if you're not good enough right now to overcome big plays, 2 things, you can't give up 2 quick scores if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars because you ain't scoring quickly on anybody else. So I get that. I'd like to see it a little bit more. He wants to see Andre Cisco on the field. Let's see a little bit more Andre Cisco on the field. But for all intents and purposes, everything that I'm starting to see and notice is that they're figuring out who they are. Tyson Campbell got to play well. They played well while you were hurt. You come back, they can't regress. They have to continue to play well, or you're going to see a situation where Tyson Campbell doesn't play as much. I would hope, because they wouldn't be trying to force something, and then that would be taking it backwards. So I'm not setting y'all up for failure. I honestly think the Jaguars have a legit shot this weekend, and you have a shot with us every day because you make us your first listen, and we appreciate it. Your second listen should be the Peacock and Williamson podcast. Peacock and Williamson do a fabulous job. Brian Peacock is an NFL analyst, and Matt Williamson is a former NFL scout, and they give it to you like no one else. So make sure you subscribe and listen to Peacock and Williamson as your second listen on every single day. All right, man. So we're getting closer and closer. We'll have a crossover. Hopefully have a crossover. I'm trying to make sure I get a crossover with Seahawks on tomorrow. But until then, you guys do what I always say. Continue to take care of each other. And let's hope the guys can go out to the Pacific Northwest and get a victory this weekend. We'll see you later, man. Thank you.